It's the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. And we've got more wins in the last couple of weeks here than the Blues do. 5 in a row the Blues have lost. Do you want to just gloss over the loss to the Detroit Red Wings last night, Matthew, and move on to what's happened today? Or do you want to talk about what we have talked about incessantly over the course of the last week or so, that the Blues can't find a way to win a game?
No, we're going to have to talk about the game last night. Unfortunately, they get shellacked again. It was a very unfun game to watch. After about 50 seconds, nice fun opening 50 seconds. Pretty much unwatchable and bad from that moment on. So that, not pleasant. Hasn't been an enjoyable season to watch the Blues through these first 10 games.
No, and it's a shame, but number one, I think this team is more talented than they have shown so far. I do think they're well coached. I think, as we've talked about,
and we put that clip out yesterday, and I immediately did not feel good about that take. As soon as I put it out there and I saw it hit the internet after last night's game, I was like, I don't really like that. I'm out here saying, well, I know the Blues are more talented than this. And then they put that out. I'm like, God bless America.
And granted, you're missing two of your top players in Neighbors and Thomas, right? But
they were doing this with them before.
Don't think when you watch a team perform the way the Blues have performed, this is my humble opinion, I think that they just need more, as Darren Pang would call it, gumption.
I like gumption.
Yeah. I just don't think that this team is clicking from a compete standpoint. Chief would say, yeah, we didn't have enough compete tonight. And I think that's the problem. I think that they need to, and Jim Montgomery says it in his own way when he talks about consistency. There needs to be consistency of effort, and I don't think the Blues are showing that right now.
Yeah, and my thing is that's kind of what Army's going to get to. We were going to talk about the moves first and then get to last night, but let's just talk about how last night's game, and one of the best ways to do that is listening to Doug Armstrong. This is about a minute long.
Monty, right?
Not Doug Armstrong, excuse me, Monty. My apologies. See, it says they're on top. Monty. It's a quote from him.
Yeah.
This is Monty's one of his quotes from last night. You've seen probably the back half of this quote where he talks about, you start 3-6-1. All you got to do is go 3-6-1 in your next 10, and it's all, hunky dory, and you're sitting at 500, and you can reset the season and things like that. But I really think the first half of this is really what I'm focusing on. Here again is Monty in the post game last night.
Okay.
Shocking, to be honest. The amount of grade A chances that we've given up has been, sometimes it's our tracking, sometimes our D zone coverage, sometimes it's our puck management. Something ugly is rearing its head every game, and we just got to get back to the drawing board and work together, and be excited about the challenge and opportunity of how long a season is. You're going to go 3-6-1. Almost every team in the NHL this year will go 3-6-1 in 10 games. Now, we did it in our first 10 games. Now, if we go 6-3-1 in the next 10, we're back to 500. At one point, we're going to go 8-2. But we have to start turning the corner with our habits. The habits get you through this, and then when it turns like it did last year, I'm not talking about last year, but it does turn, and we just got to make it turn as quick as possible.
Something ugly is rearing its head every game. A lot of comments from Monty about an inexplicable lack of connection. One of the things that jumped out to me, and we talked about this yesterday.
The first three words again, just for fun?
The first three ones?
Yeah. I like the first three words.
See if I can do it again. How's that?
Okay. This is
shocking, to be honest.
Forward. Okay, good. That's shocking, to be honest.
And he was talking about he was asked about the defense, the play of the defense, and just you heard they're right off the rip. They're allowing incredibly meaty chances every single game. And another quote that he had was, players need to know that where the puck's supposed to go. They need to know that the other player knows where the puck's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is this team we said it yesterday, they have the talent, but they're just disjointed. Everything last night tells me I might be wrong about the first half, but I'm definitely correct about the second half. This is a disjointed team.
Yeah.
Nothing is there. There is no rhythm. It's discordant. I talked about this with Cam earlier today. Basketball and hockey, I love them both for one reason, and that on defense, 5 guys have to be connected by a string, or else you are screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Not just you're going to have you are going to lose every night if you are discordant in that 5 guys aren't on a string. The string has not been connected for the Blues at any point this season, and that's why the defense sucks, and that's why the goaltending sucks.
And so the Blues have lost 5 in a row because of that. And so what do with Jake Neighbors injured? They have called up Dalibor Dvorsky from Springfield. Or if they called him down, technically. By the way, his dad was supposed to fly home to Slovakia because he's been in Springfield to watch him play. Gets called up by the Blues, changes his flights, bing, bang, boom. Dad's going to be here with Dalibor to watch him resume his NHL career. One thing that I think the Blues need to do if they want to be a better team, and I know they all want to be a better team, but you got to give Dalibor Dvorsky a better number than 54.
You've been on this one.
Yeah, it's he's right now listed on the roster as 54. This cannot continue. If the Blues want to be a top shelf team, then he can't wear number 54.
54 is a great number.
It's too heavy for
Brian
him.
Urlacher.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only one
it's
I
like
got.
giving a hockey player 60.
It's the only one I got.
You can't.
Was it Robert Thomas, the linebacker from UCLA, or 54 for the Rams?
Was he 54? I think he might have been.
I think he might have been. A much worse.
Ugly.
Was it Robert Thomas? Was that his name?
Yeah.
Oh,
what
God.
was Jamie Duncan?
Oh, that's a good poll.
Was
Jamie
he 50?
Duncan's a good
Did
poll.
he get 59 after London left?
He might have gotten 59 after London left.
Let's see. Thomas might. No, I think Thomas was 55, wasn't he?
59. Okay. Oh, nice one.
So it was ugly. Anyway, the Blues need to do a better job with numbers if they want Dvorsky to maximize himself as a player.
High Definition says, Randy, I checked the oil in the tires on the bus. I'm ready to hop on when you are.
All right. That baby is it got worst. It's our friends at Country Club Car Wash have got it all cleaned up. The oil is changed. Thank you for checking the tires, making sure that they're all aired up, high definition. And now it's just a matter of getting people aboard. And I think there's plenty of people that want to get aboard the panic bus for the St. Louis Blues and get that baby rumbling down the road because this is really bad. I was going to use the word ugly, but it's just really bad right now. And yeah, Monty's not wrong about the fact that the Blues could go 6-3-1 and get back to almost 500. They'd still have, so if they go 6-3-1, they would be 9-9-2. That would be 9 wins, 9 losses, and 2 overtime losses, would it not?
Yeah, so technically they wouldn't be 500 in my opinion, but the numbers work out that way. Credit to Anthony C. He got it right. Robert Thomas, the UCLA linebacker, wore 55. You know what? That's when we should have known the Rams were doomed when they started getting linebackers like that quality, 55. That's a sacred number in football, damn it.
That was not good. Anyway, here's the thing with the Blues. Yes, they will go 8-2 at some point. The problem is, didn't the Blues have a 12-game winning streak last year? A team record 12-game winning streak? They still wound up with the second wild card or the first wild card spot. They weren't even in the top 3 in your division. So yes, you might get hot in the second half of the season or at some point. But do you really want to be in that situation where you're sneaking in as a wild card team where maybe you could have been the number 3 team in your division, and you're going to be on the precipice of missing the playoffs in the last week of the season if it takes too long for you to get hot?
Yeah, and that's the issue in it. But it does bring me back to the fact that, I mean, because I see some people, because we put out the clip of us talking about the Blues yesterday, and we were talking about how they are a talented team on paper, and they're just playing like crap. And some people were doubting that. I'm like, listen, last year was 60 games under Monty. And we projected all the numbers. We used it as a 60-game projection. Yep. I don't think it's insane to think that a team should be able to play relatively like they played the overwhelming majority of a season.
I agree with that. Now, Ace 6583 Rob says they're embarrassing themselves. He also says there's no freaking tenacity, no nastiness except Shen, a whole lot of passengers. Who provided nastiness last year?
Nadub, Tyler Tucker.
How about Zach Bolduc?
Oh yeah, he would. Yeah, he provided a little nastiness. Okay.
Yeah, and
I
that
like
is something that the Blues are missing. I think that, and remember when the trade was made, that was one of the things that concerned me is there going to be enough grit, enough sandpaper on this team for them to be able to play the way you need to play on a regular basis? I think that they might have, I'm not going to say they outsmarted themselves, but they might have made a mistake in trading Bolduc for Mailloux when they did. I get that down the road, they're going to need that right-handed defenseman that can shoot the puck and that can skate. And you might wind up winning the trade. But for 2025, 2026, this trade might not benefit the Blues.
Yeah, and you know, maybe this is one of the things where they put themselves in this situation where they played, you know, better than they expected, a lot faster in the rebuild and the retooling situation. And Mailloux makes sense, but in maybe a team that was building its plan out at the start of 2024, but for a team that now is trying to reevaluate and how to, you know, hit that plan starting here in the middle of 2025, maybe it wasn't the smartest move. And I think that's a fair point to make at this point.
And Rob also mentions 2 blown assignments lead to 2 goals, simple assignments. One of the things that you run into is you cause people to lose confidence. And it looks like Hofer is just kind of beside himself right now. But you wonder, even a veteran like Jordan Binnington, there will be a perception out there that he's not performing well. And he's not playing the best he's ever played. But man, the blown assignments and the easy goals are probably the biggest thing hurting this team right now. Is they aren't playing tight defensively, and they need to if they're going to win. There just isn't enough offense on this team for them to be allowing 4 or 5 goals a game.
Yeah, and you know, JR put it out. You know, they're losing games when they're allowing 5, 6, 7, 8 goals. That's beyond the pale. But to your point, last year when the Blues were playing bad, plenty of fans wanted to blame it on Jordan Binnington. As soon as the rest of the team actually played legitimate hockey around him, look what happened. He stabilized. He put up one of the best lines for goaltenders in the league in the last 60 games because of what stabilized around him. Again, clearly Hofer is a problem right now. He can't save the first shot of the game.
Right.
That's bad. Anyone who wants to bleed over the issues with Hofer or the other 18 starters on this team into Binnington being a problem, I don't know what your issue is, but you probably have had an issue with him from the get-go. You were probably one of the people who wanted to trade him last year, and nothing he can do is ever going to be enough. I'm done talking to those fans. So let's move on. Let's talk about Dalibor Dvorsky.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing center. He's going to be on the power play. But you had some thoughts as we can look back to a previous earlier time when Doug Armstrong had to refit things and was trying to get young players up. And something jumped out to you about maybe the mindset of these teams right now and how important that is for Dvorsky.
And it's interesting because remember a couple of years ago, and you guys can help me with this, the Blues in the sell-off year, they had issues in the room, right? You had O'Reilly and you had Tarasenko, and I think a couple of other guys that were going to be free agents. Mikula was one of those guys. Barbashev was one of those guys. And then you had the new contracts for Kyrou and Thomas. So there was little friction in the room. And it might have been neighbors. I don't remember who. But one of the things Doug Armstrong said, and if you recall this, please chat to us. He said, I don't want to bring a player up into this culture in this room right now because it's not good. He said, I'd rather keep that player at Springfield because they have a great culture going right now. They're on a roll and they're playing really well. I think if things were so bad right now in the Blues room, the Doug Armstrong would be reluctant to bring Dalibor Dvorsky up. So they can't be that horrible. And by the way, Springfield isn't playing great either. But I don't think things are that horrible in the room that clearly they aren't, that the Poho is unwilling to bring one of his best prospects up. Dvorsky is not going to be the savior. He's a good player, but he's probably not going to make this team appreciably better. Texier, by the way, out the door on waivers. So you, from that standpoint, have a talent upgrade, but Dvorsky's probably replacing neighbors more than anything else, where then you have a talent downgrade. My point is this. They're in a position now, and maybe that had something to do a couple of years ago with the sell-off. Probably did not, because Chief was here, and I think that Armstrong liked Chief in terms of developing young talent. But I wonder if the Blues will be able to make Dvorsky a better player during this season. At least he's not going to be set back from what they're telling us by bringing him up, by being on the NHL team.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comparison to make. And for me, I really do love that we're seeing him play on the power play. I think that's huge. Play center, play on the power play. Like, again, if you're going to struggle, if you're going to bring up young players who are supposed to be your top prospects, put them through the fire. Do not put training wheels on. And Dalibor Dvorsky, yes, right now he is probably a much better NHL winger. He doesn't have to worry about defense as much and things like that. He doesn't have to worry about playmaking as much. But you're saying from day one, we need you thinking about playmaking, scoring, and defense, 200-foot game. And also, we're going to give you a chance to have a little freedom out there creatively and offensively by putting you on the power play. That's a mindset that is setting Dalibor Dvorsky up for success in the future right out of the gate. And I think if all the things you can do right now are give him the best chances available, give him chances available while you're not playing well, and give him good chances that allow him to grow, that's at least a feather in the cap while you suck.
Yeah, and it'll be nice when the Blues have Thomas back. It'll make a massive difference.
He's out for Thursday, by the way, as you can see on the screen.
Yeah, but you gotta have him, because he is your best playmaker and he's your best offensive player, and you're not going to have neighbors. So you put Dvorsky, like you say, in an opportunity, in a place at the NHL level, just to be the best him that he can be. And if it works, great. But if it doesn't, he's 19 years old, and you send him back.
Yeah, I don't see how this can go bad. Shake things up. If I'm being honest, based on how bad this team has looked over these first 10 games, this isn't going to be the shakeup that really matters.
No.
This isn't going to do enough. Maybe they don't have to go as far as shooting a hostage, as we talked about yesterday, but this isn't going to be
Wouldn't hurt.
This isn't going to be what shakes up the team. Just like we've been talking about, Buchnevich, Kyrou continually, Dylan Holloway. The best players on this team are going to be the ones who have to step up for this team to start winning games.
Oh, are you saying that their best players have to be their best players?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay.
Simplistic, but it's there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question.
I can't go anywhere else with it. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I would suggest that, the people that you counted on need to step up. My question is, at this stage, is it reasonable to expect a guy like Buchnevich to step up?
Yeah.
Not from a physical standpoint.
I think so.
But based on what you've seen. I mean, I'm talking about us. Sure, we can ask him to step up, and it's not unreasonable to ask him to step up and be better. The capability is there. My point is this. When you look at his body of work over the last, and there have been nice pockets of play for Buchnevich over the last 2+ seasons, but when you look at the overall body of work, if you want your team to be better, is it reasonable to think that he is going to get better? That's my question.
I guess my answer would be I don't need him to get better. I just need him to give me, an average output of what he's given me for the first 4 years while he was in St. Louis. That's what I need. I know we were talking about in our season preview that, him putting up more than 73 games and 76 points would be ideal, but I'll take a 55-point season from him. I think it would have the Blues probably around 500 right now if that was the case. If we weren't looking at him, 6 points through 10 games in a -7, him being a positive plus and minus player, while just giving us essentially what we've seen over the last 4 years, a composite average, a mean over the last 4 years. That's all I really expect from Pavel Buchnevich. I don't expect him to get better, but at 30 years old, I don't expect him to regress yet.
And he scored 20 last year with 37 assists for 57 points. He's on pace for 20 this year with he's on pace for a 60-point season. That would not be horrible. It's just that it's Pavel Buchnevich. That's the thing.
And he'd be a negative for the first time.
Yeah, right.
I know plus minus can be a a stat that means too much or too little, depending on the actual circumstances that go into it. But if I'm looking at a guy who his first season here was almost a plus 30, and a guy who the rest of his last 3 seasons here is a combined plus like 15 or something like that, no, a plus 27 over his last 3 seasons and a plus 29 in his first season, I see a -7 and I go, he's falling off. He's not the overall player he was.
And that's one guy that when he's at his best will truly miss Robert Thomas, because
he can't create his own shots consistently.
He doesn't really create his own shots at this stage. As gifted as he is, he doesn't do that. It's kind of like in a different way. But remember when TJ Oshie took off here, or it took off in Washington? It was because he got put together with Nicholas Backstrom. Oshie in his career in St. Louis never played with a playmaker. And I think Buchnevich is at that stage now where he needs to have a playmaker if he's going to be successful. But he also needs to, let's go back to this. He needs to provide more consistent effort. There's too many times in a game where a guy that good is invisible. And you can't have a great talent like that be invisible, especially a great talent that's making a lot of money, and have your team be as good as it can possibly be.
Yeah, and I think the same goes for some of the big names on the defensive side of the puck as well, because Cam Fowler was fantastic for the Blues after they traded for him. He has been rough defensively through these first 10 games. Mm-hmm. Colton Parayko, does he make the biggest mistakes? No, but his puck handling has regressed back to where it was even before last year, and he can't cover every bit of ice as well. And obviously we've talked about the struggles that we've seen Justin Falk be making this year. Obviously you put him up on the block yesterday. So there's a lot of issues all across this entire team. Nothing is going to get fixed by a rookie coming up, but you had to make some kind of changes. The best players don't get any better. If they don't play anywhere near what they did for the last 60 games, then yeah, they're going to suck this entire season.
Well, at least San Jose and Calgary exist.
There you go.
Those are the two teams in the West.
Please tell me Anaheim. Does Anaheim not suck anymore?
Anaheim, Joel Quenneville's their coach.
Oh, God dang it.
Anaheim is 5-3-1 for 11 points. The Blues have 7 points.
Well, see, at one point, the Blues are going to go 6-3-1 across a 10-game period, though.
Yeah.
And 8-2 probably at some point.
Yep. How about this? Anaheim, their regulation time record, 3-3-3.
Bub says, I'm not going to be truly worried about the Blues until after they lose the next 5 or until Christmas. Well, are you worried?
There you go.
What if they have a worse record through 22 games than they did under Bannister last year?
Then you bring him back?
Will that be a period of
then you bring him baback.
Be a period of panic? Because maybe that's where I'm at. What was the Bannister record last year through 22 games? What was it? 7-13-1 or something like that, I want to say. That's my guess right now.
Okay.
Last year to start the season, Drew Bannister went. That's not 22 games. My math sucks. That would be 21 games. I'm an idiot. Great math job. Drew Bannister went 9-12-1. I said 7-10-1, or 7-12-1. So I was close. He went 9-12-1. The Blues, at the pace they're at right now, will be lucky to get to 9-12-1.
I would say that is the case. How about this? 41-year-old Mercedes Lewis signs to the Denver Broncos practice squad.
He is the leading receiver or the second leading receiver in NFL history for players over 40 years old.
Oh, really?
Jerry Rice
has to be number 1.
Mercedes Lewis, Tom Brady.
Oh, really?
Because Tom Brady caught a pass with the Buccaneers.
How about that?
Yes. So Tom Brady's number 3.
Huh. All right. So let's see if we can see Mercedes Lewis, who was one of the few first-round draft choices to catch touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers. Also,
Mercedes Lewis was a Pro Bowler in 2010.
Wow. And now it's 2025. 15 years ago, he was a Pro Bowler. Hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to Missouri, and you can sign up today. And if you're a new Missouri customer, here's a great deal for you. You can get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st in Missouri. Download now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting and lightning-fast payouts and endless ways to get in on the action. And when they go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. All you need to do, and this is very simple, get your phone, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use that promo code that's on your screen, STL Sports, in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Thanks, Randy.
You got it. How about the Heisman odds changing dramatically?
Ooh.
Diego Pavia had a rough game against Missouri, didn't perform at the highest level. Dante Moore for Oregon was injured. And so right now, the Heisman favorite is Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. He's plus 260 to win the Heisman Trophy. Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson is kind of my favorite right now, is plus 360. Julian Sayin of Ohio State plus 380. And Marcel Reed, who I think I will have in my top 3, the Texas A&M QB, is at plus 600 right now. If you're in Illinois, I would get to DraftKings and I would put a couple of bucks on Marcel Reed to win the Heisman Trophy.
Quarterback award again, Randy. Jeremiah Love, the highest odds right now for a non-quarterback at plus 2,000. And I talked about this yesterday. I thought this was fascinating. But in an era when everyone wants to talk about the transfer portal, it is interesting to me that the only 2 transfers on this list are Mendoza and Pavia. Everybody else was started at the school that they are at right now.
Yep.
Stockton at Georgia, Love at Notre Dame, Marcel Reed at A&M, Zayn at Ohio State, Simpson at Bama. All those guys started with their current team, but Mendoza and Mendoza and Pavia are transfers. I just thought it jumped out to me because in a thing where it's all about the transfers, it's not about recruiting anymore. And again, Mizzou is rolling with a transfer quarterback, or they were. Now they're rolling with a recruited quarterback. I just thought it was interesting that the leader was a transfer, but the majority of the list, not transfer players who have stuck it out and kind of learned in that system.
It's interesting. And there's also a stat out there that the majority of players that get drafted are not transfers. They're players that were developed.
That I had not seen. That's fascinating. System.
And so maybe there is something to be said for staying at your school and not getting impatient and leaving.
Keith Adams says, "Where's Arch Manning?"
He's still at his school.
I think where's
his receiver going to be next year?
I think he's talking about more about the Heisman. Where's Arch Manning on the Heisman rankings?
Oh, not
he's nowhere close to them on that one. You like Ty Simpson best right now?
Simpson or Reed.
How much of that do you think Reed's going to have a big game against Mizzou, you jerk?
Well, he's not. Mizzou plays great defense, but that was a big win the other night at LSU. So I kind of like him. I kind of like Simpson. Things can change dramatically.
The big thing also
is it going to be hard for you to vote for Fernando Mendoza?
No, I think it's fantastic. I'm all about it. To your point, though, and if you look at some of the numbers, the thing about Marcel Reed is he's got the rushing touchdowns. That's going to be a little bit helpful. Samson's got the big passing numbers. He's the only one who's over 2,000 passing yards right now. He's actually over 2,100. He also has a 20-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and he has gotten a couple on the ground. I'm with you on Ty Simpson, and that's because I'm a hater who thinks it's going to go bad for Indiana, because as a non-blue blood, I can't see other non-blue bloods have nice things like top 3 rankings.
The only problem that I think you have, they really don't have a legitimate opponent until Indiana plays Ohio State in the championship game. And who's going to blame Mendoza if he gets shut down by the Ohio State defense?
I won't blame Mendoza at all. But it will shift things around, and if Julian Sayin and Ty Simpson are again just batting it around the park and not making mistakes, if these guys Ty Simpson finishes with 30 touchdowns and like 1 or 2 picks, it's gonna be hard to keep him away from it. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be. This is a disappointing Heisman year in my opinion.
It is.
Lord Almighty.
And Arch Manning ruined it.
Thanks a lot, Arch.
Yeah. So go back to what I said. Do you think that there's a chance, especially if Drink is still the head coach at Mizzou, that Ryan Wingo could be here next year?
Yes.
I think so too.
Yeah, I bypassed that, but I really should. I should have lashed onto that. Yes, I think it's completely legitimate. When you see the success that Missouri wide receivers have had, I think that's one key to it. They're going to lose Kevin Coleman. A spot would be wide open. It'd be interesting to see, or I wonder how, the next 5 weeks affect that, because if Matt Zollers looks really good as a freshman and you still got Bo Prabula, I mean, what does that factor in his decision at all? Which one of those quarterbacks is kind of the future of the Tigers? That could be. I mean, it's insane to be thinking that it could be an actual battle, but I mean, I don't think that's that crazy. I think right out of the gate about week 3 when he was still struggling, that was the first time I heard people being like, Wingo, I don't see why you wouldn't make a change. Yeah, why not? Same conference, you're not losing that much. The NIL money is going to come. Missouri's going to find a way to get you paid. St. Louis people are going to find a way to get you paid,
and you're going to be the man at Mizzou because Coleman will be gone. Texas brought in, I think, 3 of the top 20 overall recruits that were wide receivers in this year's recruiting class. So there's going to be a ton of competition at the position at Texas too.
I will say the issue with college sports right now is that whoever you are, if you want to take somebody from Texas, that's kind of scares me because Texas A&M is going to be probably right on your ass. And all that, they got all that oil money. Yeah. They're just going to keep pumping into people. I mean, again, let's not forget, Texas A&M paid for college softball.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane, guys. Like, what are we supposed to do with that?
By the way, one other point about Texas and what was it? Oh, it was the fact that their head coach, Steve Sarkisian, apparently is interested in the Titans job, which would change things for Texas too. Here's that stat for you. Would that surprise you if Sark would go to the pros? I don't think guys want to go to I don't think guys want to coach in college anymore.
It would surprise me only because if it was the Tennessee job, I would not want that Tennessee job in a million years.
No, it's not great ownership.
I mean, there's only one of 32. There's only one of 32 though. That's what I think. There's only 32 jobs. Are you really going to turn down one of them?
Maybe likes the idea of living in Nashville.
That's fair. By the way, one last little point here. I will say, if you want to throw the deep cut, I like Gunnar Stockton at plus 1,800 because all he does is throw complete passes. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to end the year with double-digit rushing touchdowns.
Yep,
and he'll probably only have like 1 or 2 picks. And so it's one of those things where in a year where everything is compacted, I wonder if we could see something with Gunnar Stockton because he's there plus 1,800, and you see his numbers aren't that much worse than Diego Pavia's, especially after the bad week Pavia just had, and you're getting an extra plus 950 right now on your odds on DraftKings. If you want a deep cut, I think Gunnar Stockton's a great one to roll with.
Does he have though? And my internet is down.
Yeah, my internet's not working either. But we're hard lined in, so we're still broadcasting.
So I wonder if there's another moment for Stockton to make an impact. I wonder if the Georgia Tech game at the end of the season.
There you go.
They'll have that opportunity. By the way, I want to go back to that story I was telling you about. This is really interesting. It's actually very surprising. This is a study by Chris Hummer of CBS Sports of every recruit rated in 24/7's national database from the classes of 2018 to 21. That's nearly 1,000 players. So it's every recruit rated by 24/7 between 18 and 21, nearly 1,000 players. His study found that players who remain at the school they signed with out of high school through the duration of their college career were roughly 5 times as likely to be drafted as those who transferred.
Jeez.
According to the study, top 24/7 recruits from the high school classes of 2018 to 21 who did not transfer were drafted 53.6% of the time. Compared to players who did transfer, that group heard their name called at the NFL draft just 11.4% of the time. So again, of all of the recruits, 3.6 of them were drafted if they stayed in school. 11% who transferred got drafted, and then the rest of the group didn't get drafted at all. 307 of the top 247 recruits since 2018, or 307 of the top 24/7 recruits since 2018 were drafted, and 61 transferred. So 307 stayed, 61 transferred. Of the 307 that stayed, 53.6% got drafted. Of the 61 who transferred, 11.4% got drafted. Kind of a surprising thing when you look at, I'm kind of myopic about Mizzou and think about the transfers that they've had, and you would think that the transfer would be drafted a lot more because people are paying money for kids to transfer, but that is not necessarily the case with players that are rated nationally by 24/7. So now you know via podcast.
Let's get into Sad Sack Aaron's comment here.
Okay.
Cardinals won't be good for 10 years.
10.
Blues suck. Illini are never great. Battlehawks can't win a championship. And City are garbage. So I'm like poison. I need something to believe in.
Blue Jays will not be good for 10 years. You know, they finished in last place.
I said Blues. Did I say Blues suck? Battlehawks can't win a championship. Did I say Blue Jays?
No, you Battlehawks. They can't yet. But the Blue Jays, they were last place team last year. They suck. They will not be good for 10 more years.
That ended up not being true, right? I believe they're playing for a World Series right now.
They're 2-2 in the World Series right now.
Get the hell out of here!
How about them?
that?
Yeah, Chris Bassett, kind of a stud.
Aaron is very distraught. He was in the Blues post-game chat last night and he was very mad that Thomas and Mike weren't throwing things against the wall. He needs more anger and passion from STL Sports Central.
Anger and passion. There you go.
I get why you're so angry. I really do. It's not fun. In fact, if you did you just throw something at the wall?
No, I'm going to throw anger and passion. I want to throw.
Oh no! Don't throw our gourd.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm having to run the show off my phone right now. It's not working.
I tried to deliver to the masses here, but he won't let me.
Yeah, I'm the jerk who won't let Randy throw stuff. My bad.
Here's the thing. I get that people are angry and passionate, and I love passion. But I think you also have to understand that if I get mad and if I get passionate, what the hell good is it going to do? You can get mad and get passionate. Does that help them win? No. They need to get mad and passionate. It's not us. They need to get mad and passionate. And that's the problem that I have with the Blues right now. As I look in that locker room, the dressing room after games, nobody seems to be mad. I think that's what they need. They need a mad guy, in my opinion. And somebody needs to grab that mantle and say, okay, I'm going to be the leader of this team. And if we're not winning, if we're not playing well, I am going to be pissed. And I don't think they have that guy. So I don't mind that you get mad and are passionate. I like the fact that you're passionate. And I like the fact that you get angry. But I'm old, man. And I know that if I get mad, it's not going to do anybody any good at all. Might even do bad. I've had cardiac events, you know. So I'm not going to get mad about it. I'm just going to here's what we used to do back in the day when we were fun radio people, and the Blues would go on a losing streak, and it'd get to number 5. We would use the number of the day from Sesame Street.
Yes, we did.
The number of the day is 5. I suppose we could use that on here, right?
I think we can still get away with it. Yeah.
Today would be the number
is 5.
Is 5, yeah. So that's what we got to do. You got to have fun. If you can't,
we can't play it, but we could sing it off key.
Okay,
and then they can't get us.
Okay, let me get the.
He says the correct. Blue Jays have actual players like Guerrero, and they paid for good pitching.
That is not wrong. They went out and got Max Scherzer. They got Bassett last year.
But I mean,
they signed Kevin Gossman.
How many years ago did they call up that original core of the three pedigree boys of
19.
Bichette, Guerrero Jr. and Kevin Biggio, who obviously isn't even the impact player right now. I mean, that was like 2019 when they called those 3 players up, and now we're looking at 2025, and now they're finally hitting that impact where they can take a team to the World Series. You're right, they have players, but it took them a long time to develop those players, and you are 100%. They bought pitching. I don't expect the Cardinals to buy pitching this offseason. No, that's a completely fair criticism.
No, the Cardinals aren't going to buy anything. No. They aren't buying anything. Here's the thing. The Cardinals have how many great players? 0, right? The Cardinals, they need to develop Ivan Herrera as a major league star. He's really, really good. They need Alec Burleson to maintain the steadiness that he has established. They need Mason Wynn to turn into a good offensive player. They need Brendan Donovan to remain steady Eddie. In the next 2 years, it would behoove the Cardinals to get production out of Wilson Contreras. Okay, so now we're looking at third base, whether that is Donovan maybe with Weatherholt at second, or Weatherholt, maybe Gorman, although there's a pretty good chance I think that he would not be here. And then the other thing you need to do, Matthew, is you need to get Victor Scott to turn into a representative player, and you need Jordan Walker to turn into a representative player. If you can get those guys to be reasonable, get to the middle of the pack on offense, and then you need to build your pitching staff. And it's going to be Liberatore, it's going to be McGreevy, Palante is going to get an opportunity, Leahy is going to get an opportunity. You hope that next year you can get a guy like Liam Doyle going and up to the major league level. It's not going. I guess the point that we need to make is Cardinal fans need to understand that this is not going to happen overnight, and that the team, while being on an upward trajectory, it's not going to be a rocket ship. It's going to be more like you're walking up a mountain, and it's not going to happen overnight. I think we all need to keep that in mind. And you can't do what you did when you were the Cardinals in 2000. You can't rebuild the team on the fly because it's not economically feasible. And in baseball, it's just not workable anymore the way it was then when you went out and got 3 starting pitchers. And by the way, the McGuire effect was still in play there. So why did people like Fernando Vina want to come to St. Louis? Oh, why did Mike Matheny want to come to St. Louis? Why did Edmonds want to come to St. Louis? Everybody wanted to come and play with McGuire. And he had stayed for less, so those players stayed for less money too. So you change that. That doesn't exist anymore. So what's it going to take now? It's going to take an uphill climb like Cleveland has dealt with, like Toronto has dealt with. And then when you do get close, then maybe you spend some money and you put your players, your veteran players in place to supplement the youngsters.
I think that's a good plan. Aaron Dobson does say, I expect nothing the next 3 off seasons, just front office and coaching moves. It is fair. In fairness to him, it's not like the Cardinals after the off seasons that didn't include the trades for Arenado and Goldschmidt. I understand why some fans are annoyed because there were multiple off seasons where they were relatively inert and inactive. And there was one of those off seasons where all of baseball was. But I mean, you did have 2 of the last 3 off seasons where no moves were made.
So last year you didn't make any moves. The year before that you signed 3 starting pitchers, right?
Well, those pitchers were Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, and
Sonny Gray.
It's one good move.
And you traded for Andrew Kittredge.
And I do want to say that is 3 moves. 2 of them are guys who retired the next year, and one of them is a guy that you called the contract they gave him a waste of money.
I did not.
I just the context of what those 3 pitchers were that they did add.
So here's the thing, though. But they tried.
True, they did.
They gave money, and was it misguided? Yes, but they tried. And then 23, they had traded. Let's see, they had traded for Montgomery that offseason or that season, right? So they still have Monty around.
Yes, and then there was nothing that offseason pretty much. And so I understand his point. It's a good point that there was a lack of moves for a couple of seasons, but I just think that with a new Pobo taking over and the fact that baseball is going to hit the reset button one way or another, I'd be shocked. But Aaron, you know what? Proof's in the pudding. I can't fault you on that one.
And my question would be, and feel free to weigh in here, what are your expectations for the Cardinals this offseason? What would you like to see them do that you think is doable and rational? And let's be realistic here, because the Cardinals are not going to spend, they aren't going to go get Kyle Tucker this offseason. Okay?
Keith Adams says it. How about better development?
Well, that is happening already. Yeah, that is, they're hiring more coaches. They've already hired more coaches at the minor league level. And I believe that Larry Day, the minor league director, Cerfolio, the assistant GM, and Chaim Bloom, I think all of those people look at the lane for the Cardinals to take to get back to being relevant is through draft and development. And that's where a lot of the money is going to be spent in 2026 and beyond. The money that you aren't seeing in payroll at the major league level is going to be spent in development of minor leaguers.
I like this from Ace Rob, who says, Aaron's just like the rest of us. He's pretty upset with the St. Louis sports scene. And to that, I'll say this. First of all, read the crawl on the left hand of your stream. Tell me if it seems like I was excited to talk about St. Louis sports today. Just read the crawl really quickly and tell me, yeah, it looks like Rock was pumped to talk about sports today, everybody. So, I mean, if you're thinking, why aren't these guys angry? Why aren't these guys emotionally exasperated? And I read what's to Randy, what's to the left of Randy Karraker, and tell me I wasn't exasperated this morning. Tell me that St. Louis sports fans in all ways, shapes, and forms aren't annoyed. But the bottom line is, I know Aaron would appreciate it, but most people, Aaron, in this market, because we're not Philadelphia and we're not New York, do not like it when the people in front of the microphones, Boston, scream, yell, and tirade. Some people like it. Clearly, Aaron, that's what you would prefer. And hey, I understand that. But unfortunately, we hold ourselves to a slightly higher level. Nothing against those cities, but this isn't a town where screaming and yelling and calling players lazy is our style necessarily. And so I apologize that that's not our style, but clearly we care. Clearly we're just as exasperated as you. But my form of exasperation is to make jokes and to be a smartass, not yell. And so that's how you're going to see it manifested here, as I think I've done pretty well today.
I've never been a yeller. I think if you've signed
unless
up for
a certain person was in the studio.
That's true.
You were also a thrower in those cases.
Oh yeah, I was. But I you know what you signed up for with me. You know, I'm just trying to find out how good the St. Louis Shock was. Hey, and the Billikens are getting underway.
God, they are going to be. I got to watch them practice yesterday. They had an open practice for students, and I was able to watch as well. And
because you're a student.
Yes, I had my student ID. I got in. Good, it's a little old, but you know, as long as you touch up the paint every year, they'll let you right in. The thing about SLU, a lot of graduate students. It's a place of higher learning, and that's how I snuck in there. And they are going to be fantastic. They for me, they have so many weapons.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the Dodgers, it's not necessarily that everybody has to be good. It's that they always, every night, 3 players can be bad because they got 9 players who can step up. And that's the thing when I watch the Billikens. It's going to be a lot of fun. I actually have some stuff right now if you want to learn more about this Billikens team, because you're probably saying, wait a second, who's on this Billiken teams from last year? The answer is not a lot of players. Robbie Avila is here. Kellen Thames is here. And pretty much, and Kaluanya. And then everybody else is new. Kaluanya, though, is redshirting. Kind of surprising that a senior is redshirting, but things are changing because they've gotten some talented freshmen. So go to STL Sports Central right now. I actually have a season preview every day until the Billikens open on Monday. I'm adding a couple more scouting reports. I got Kaluanya up there talking about why he's redshirting. I put Jax Kerr, who is the freshman who has forced him to redshirt, and I've also added a bunch of scouting reports on all the new players. So if you're wondering who these new guys are, who's Ashan Sharma, who's Brady Dunlop, who's Quentin Jones, who is Deion Brown, who are these guys who are going to be the meat of the Billikens lineup who weren't here last year, go to stlsportscentral.com right now and you can check it out.
Actually 2 easy questions, one brief. I'm thinking about buying a couple of season tickets. Should I?
Yes, you should. Right now they have great deals going on. I think I saw them pumping it up for like $150 right now is where season ticket groups start. It's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, the non-conference isn't great, but college basketball is in a place where if you're a fan of a mid-major, you kind of got to eat that for a couple of years. And Josh Schertz just talked about it over on 101 with the TMA guys.
Really?
Yes, yeah, they had him. I know, right? They had him and Robbie in, and he basically acknowledged that Mizzou, this isn't Mizzou's fault, but no D1 team, because of how the system is built, wants to play anybody but one of 2 teams. They want to play a good Q1 team because if they lose, it's an okay loss, and they want to play Q4 teams because they're going to slaughter them by 35 points.
I like it. Okay.
They don't want to risk losses to Q3 and Q2 teams. So Q1 teams, Power 5 teams, aren't scheduling Q2 and Q3. So the answer for SLU to get a Mizzou series again is be a Q1 team.
There you go. And
right now SLU is a Q3 or Q2 team, and so that's why the big teams don't want to accept them. So if you actually look at the Billiken schedule, and they did get screwed because one of the MTE that they're in also has one of the teams on their schedule. So they got kicked out of their MTE. Then their schedule
gets an MTE
multi-team event.
Okay.
Then their schedule got changed where they lost one of the home games that was supposed to be against Santa Clara. It's now away again.
Okay.
So they go from having one of the top 3 non-conference schedules in the A10 to tumbling down a little bit more because they lost that home game.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is not a lot of teams in the A10 are getting great home schedules. You are getting one of the top home schedules in the A10 this year with the Billikens, and you're going to get a lot of fun, a lot of scoring. There was a moment during the practice yesterday where I would say that there was a lot of scoring, maybe not in the positive factor, but I mean, this team can shoot the lights out, and that's what's going to be special.
Right. So if you're over at SLU, just shoot me a text or send me an email, and I'm in on tickets. Okay. The other question I have is why and how, and don't give away your story. Tell people that they can find your work at STL Sports Central. But how did Jax Kerr force Anya into redshirting?
So I think it's simple. Jax Kerr is a 6'11", 200-pound freshman. I think it's Muskogee, Oklahoma, I believe is where he's from.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you were at any point in Oklahoma, you probably could have seen him play basketball. Hey, that's a flat joke.
Player of the year, I think, though.
Yes, he was. Four-star, only four-star in the SLU class. And as Schertz described him, he essentially projects to be the exact perfect archetype to what the NBA wants in a big man. I want you to be able to block shots at the rim on defense, and then I want you on offense to take the other shot blocker away from the rim and then shoot threes over him.
Oh, hello, Chet Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren, Miles Turner, Victor Wembanyama, although Jax Kerr is not 7'6". He should be 7 feet tall by next year, though. So he has that game, he has that style, that archetype. And so that archetype means that he's going to be the star or one of the stars of St. Louis University next year. So part of this process is because Paul Ohtani, who's a transfer from Quinnipiac, that big man, and Robbie Avila, obviously the star of the team, both of them are graduating. And Kalu Anya was supposed to be graduating and finishing out his eligibility.
But
So the Billikens were looking at all three of their front court players this year, all graduating next year and needing front court reinforcements in the worst possible way in the transfer portal next season. Instead, because Kalu's okay with it, and this is kind of like a luxury of just having the situation, a lot of players don't want to just sit out their senior year. Kalu looked at it and said, okay, this kid's going to cut into my minutes. And this isn't verbatim. I'm now in their head kind of projecting how the thought process went. Kalu thought, well, he's going to cut into my minutes. The staff said, well, we have to play this kid. He's going to be better for us next year. And then also, I guess eventually the conversation turned around, well, what would be even better next year? Not only can Kalu have a full senior year, but now we have a veteran big man who last year led the Billikens in rebounding, offensive rebounding, field goal efficiency, and block shots. So he led the Billikens in that all last year. So if you can just take that, port it to next season, stick him in the starting lineup next to Jax Kerr as this veteran, and now all of a sudden you just have a front court built and ready to go, and you don't have to worry about it. You probably will add a big name transfer portal. I would imagine that Paul Ohtani this year being your big ad, a similar ad could be made next year because almost all of the guards who transferred have multi-years of eligibility. So you're not going to be worrying about replacing any of the backcourt that the Billikens have this year. You're going to be worrying about replacing a lot of front court minutes. So in everybody's career, this all works out. The big question, though, is your senior going to be okay with simply being on the bench his entire year?
Great question.
And that's kind of shocking. But I guess for him, another year of NIL. He's a smart kid who went to Brown, so I'm sure he's probably gonna go from like a master's to a doctorate now.
Went to Brown
while he's there. I did not know that. Yep. And I was talking to Kalu. He's in the perfect town because what is one of his biggest hobbies that he wants to get even more involved in? Chess.
Oh, perfect.
And I was like, well, Kalu, the CWE is right there. They got the Hall of Fame. They got clubs. These people will love to get you involved in chess. So he's got things to do. It's a perfect situation in every way for the Blues, for the Billikens this year and the Billikens next year. That's team building that you really can't, ask for much more from it. And the freshmen are looking good. There were some more Billikens news today. Cameron Hudson, who's a freshman. He's not going to redshirt. He's working on a shoulder thing. But the reason why I think it's interesting he's not going to redshirt is just the thing about Cam Hudson. You'll learn about this when I put up my scouting report for him tomorrow on STL Sports Central. His dad won a national championship.
Wow.
With Michigan State on Tom Izzo's team.
Oh, really?
So when you hear that, you get an idea of, okay, his dad knows how to play the game fundamentally, good defense. And so that's the first thing you see. And then you see the kid and you're like, okay, yeah, he is a world ahead of other freshmen as a defensive player,
Uh-huh.
and his shot is exactly what you would expect a guy who won a national championship. His shot, the guy who was raised by somebody who won a national championship. Elbows in, follow through is perfect.
Nice.
Cam Hudson is built to be a perfect 3-and-D player at 6'5" plus length. I'm not surprised he's not getting redshirt because it doesn't matter how many minutes he plays. It doesn't matter who gets hurt or anything like that. That's a guy who always has a role in today's basketball. So there's a lot of reasons to get excited for the Billikens, a lot of reasons to get excited, not just for this year, but to watch this season and see how this team develops over the next couple seasons.
No doubt. It'll be fun. And maybe I'll get some season tickets. By the way, it's interesting how in society now, there are a lot of celebrities that have alcohols named after them or that they have. Like George Clooney has a rum company, doesn't he? There are other athletes, sports stars that develop some sort of an alcoholic beverage. Well, I think SLU has their guy. I think Clue.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
There we go. We've got an interview with Jim Thomas that I have recorded that is going to show up here on STL Sports Central. And soon, Matt Adams, the former Cardinal, who's still here in St. Louis, he's got a lot of interesting things to say. That's a fun interview that we did. That's also going to show up here on STL Sports Central.
Let's see here, because I believe that Matt Adams is going to get posted later today as today's Cardinals 365.
Oh, yeah, we did that.
And I wonder, I think Jim Thomas has already been posted. I'm going to check right now if my internet's working. I do want to answer this question from Keith Adams.
Hi, Keith.
I guess it's me, but I still believe the Missouri Valley seems better to me for St. Louis and not the A10. I'm interested in what you think. Yeah, listen, you're not wrong. I get when people say that the local rivals work better in the Missouri Valley than they do in the A10. That's fine, but the bottom line is the A10 is consistently better teams. It's more tournament appearances over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Everything about the A10 is better for a college basketball program. I don't understand fans who need the opponent at Chaffetz to be a team within 100 miles. Yeah. I don't personally care who the opponent, who the Billikens are playing at home or where that team's from. I care that they're a good team and it's going to be a good basketball game. I don't care if that team's coming from Wichita, Kansas or Spokane, Washington. I just care about the basketball being good. Like, that's the weird thing for me is that fans really care that they're playing Illinois State, and I just don't.
Here's what conferences care about, and schools care about. St. Louis University, and by the way, the Valley is great. St. Louis-based Missouri Valley Conference. I'm just going to try to give you an idea of why SLU is not in the Valley. It's because SLU would be with cities like Peoria, like Evansville, like Normal, Illinois, like where's Indiana State again? It's not French Lick. That's where Larry Bird's from. Come on, give us the Indiana State.
Oh God, I should know this. I'm blanking on it.
But Murray, Kentucky, Carbondale, Illinois, UNI. You've got Chicago, you've got Indy, you've got Nashville. But for the most part, those are not big footprints for television, and you'll see SLU on national TV a lot this year. Where St. Louis University should be is not the Valley. They should be in the Big East.
That's the big thing everyone always talks about. Man, they are far from that, though, unfortunately.
They aren't far from that in terms of market.
No,
they're
but they're
far from it in terms of
prestige
basketball.
And clout. Yeah.
And if they would have, if Rick Majerus doesn't die, I'm convinced that SLU would be in the Big East today.
And by the way, who made the jump from the Missouri Valley to the Big East? By the way, Creighton.
Yeah,
you should be able to beat Creighton. And I know I'm going to get in trouble when I get home for this one. I'm going to get in trouble when I get home for this one. By the way, but there's no reason you shouldn't be.
Xavier too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, but what you're looking at is another Indy, and we mentioned Valpo, Butler, Omaha, Chicago with DePaul, Washington D.C., Milwaukee, Providence, Rhode Island, St. John's is in New York, UConn, Philadelphia, you've got Villanova. So it's actually more akin to the A10, just with better schools. But you do have the more local rivalries because you've got Chicago, you've got Milwaukee, you've got Omaha, you've got Cincinnati.
This makes no sense to me. I mean, Arrigo Palazzo, I agree with you. SLU should equal Creighton. Keith Adams responds with the Big East. No, sir. I really need Keith. I need you to respond before we close out the show, because I need to hear more people who have this opinion. You're not long form answer, but what you feel like comfortable typing out. I need to hear why you think that, because if it's just you want local regional rivals, that's fine. But we have hit an impasse in the discussion, because I can't see why that matters to people. I can't. Is it just the parochialness of St. Louis always playing through? Or
no,
what,
I think most
is that what
most rational
like
people want them to be in the Big East. Here's another thing that we should know, or either not know but keep in mind, is that DePaul is a Jesuit institution. Marquette is.
Yep.
Georgetown is, right? St. John's is. There are a lot more like-minded universities in the Big East for St. Louis University to play with than there are in either the A10 or the Missouri Valley Conference.
When we were on 101, we were getting this chat a lot in our YouTube chat that they need to go back to the Big East, or they need to go back to the Missouri Valley, and we're getting it now. Samuel Howe says we need to join the Missouri Valley. I just, guys, if you want the SLU Billikens to go backwards in the conference realignment game, that's fine, but you're admitting defeat. And that is the death of a program, in my opinion. If no one goes backwards in conference realignment unless you are falling apart and failing as a program. I'm looking at you, teams over on the West Coast. That's the people who go backwards. You can't go backwards. You have to go forwards. Going back to the Missouri Valley would be a failure.
Okay, what about this, Matthew? What if you're going backwards as a city?
Oh, crap. Yeah, well, that's fair. But again, we got to be able to beat out we got to be able to beat Omaha.
So, okay, let's think about this. So
kidnap
Omaha. No,
we kidnap Warren Buffett.
That's what we need to do.
Okay, that's now we're coming up with real ideas. Now we're being realistic.
Yeah, but if you think about it, and let's just so Nashville's already passed St. Louis up. Peoria,
no.
Okay,
far away from that. Okay,
what's the school in the city in Iowa that Drake is at?
Drake is in Grand Rapids.
No, it's in Iowa. I don't even remember.
It's Grand Rapids in Michigan. I meant to say. What's the rapids in Iowa? Cedar Rapids. Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
Des Moines.
Des Moines. There you go. Des Moines. But Illinois State, normal. So that we're virtually equal with them. Carbondale.
No, stop it.
Okay.
God bless America.
Indy.
Yeah, we're behind them.
Yeah. So maybe we are closer to maybe you're right. Maybe
no.
Here's the other thing. You don't want to lose Arch Madness, and you don't want Arch Madness to be a home court advantage if you're the Valley. So you don't want to lose Arch Madness if you're St. Louis. So
that's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah, so we want to keep that here.
Nothing from Keith Adams here. I did get an update from the production side of things. Matt Adams will go up at 5 p.m. here in just under an hour.
Okay, good.
For Cardinals 365 today. And then your conversation with Jim Thomas, talking about his book, The Franchise St. Louis Blues, which has some incredible history. If you don't know all about why you actually have to sometimes wake up and thank the Blackhawks if you're a Blues fan. Yeah. It sucks, but it's just the fact of the matter. Sometimes you have to wake up and thank the Blackhawks if you're a Blues fan, and you can learn exactly why that is the shitty truth. In The Franchise by Jim Thomas, and we talked about that. That interview will debut today at 7 p.m. on STL Sports Central, where you can learn and listen to blues without being instantly depressed. I guarantee you'll make it longer than a minute into the interview with Jim Thomas without being sad about the Blues.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's the guarantee we have. Blues hockey last night made you sad in 1 minute.
Don't worry about it anymore.
Tonight, STL Sports Central, when we talk Blues, it'll be happy for at least longer than that.
Sunshine,
lollipops, and rainbows, everything that's wonderful. That way we don't get copyright.
There we go. We thank you for joining us on the Randy Karraker Show. Matthew Rocchio Wilson got us on the air, and we are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. And we'll see you next time right here on STL Sports Central. Beautiful. Good job.